What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Top Dogs podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. And safe to say, UConn basketball is officially back on Monday night. UConn beat Boston College 71-52 in Mohegan Sun in an exhibition game between the two programs. And I'll be honest, man, it got the juices flowing a little bit. To be honest and completely transparent over here, the reason it's been about 6 months since you got an episode put into this feed is because I really wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to keep this thing going. It's really hard to find the time to prioritize what is functionally a passion project within the Field of 68 business model here with Top Dogs. It's not really a revenue generator for us at all. We make a little bit of money off of YouTube, a little bit of money off of audio downloads thanks to Blue Wire, and provide some deliverables for some of the sponsors that we do work with. But there is no presenting sponsor for Top Dogs. People's Bank isn't paying me a bunch of money to be able to do these episodes and promote their brand. Nothing like that is going on with this show or this feed. And I coach my son's 10U baseball team. I'm going to be coaching his 10U travel basketball team in the winter this year. My daughter has gymnastics and dance and soccer, and each one of those is like twice a week. Combined, my wife and I are shuttling kids to probably between 16 and 20 different events during the weeks, especially in the spring and the fall when you have multiple sports going on at the same time. There is a lot going on over here. And that is before you consider the fact that it's easy for me to put in 50 hours a week on Field of 68. As right now we're writing for On3 as well. And the late September, October, early November run for us when we're doing these media days and when we're doing these events, the one we have in Sioux Falls, the one we have in Rock Hill, the one we have in Lynchburg, Virginia this year, that's become the most important stretch of the calendar year for us financially outside of March. And it takes months and months and months to prep for all of that, to be able to get ready to do these shows, to be able to learn about all of the teams in the Big South that I didn't know all that much about before. Just all of that stuff takes up time. And it is hard for me to justify doing things like putting in time to watch film on recruits before they commit, or putting together thoughts on an episode in the summer, or trying to find a way to get a guest on and fit them in with a schedule when we have 3 different calls on like a Tuesday morning, trying to figure out how to be able to get the production that we need to be able to get for different events that we're going to be doing. So if doing an episode of this means sacrificing something, I can't do it. Right. I'm not going to be giving up the time with my wife and my kids, because to me that is non-negotiable at this point. I already travel too much. I already probably work too much. My wife works as well, so it's not like she can just kind of sit there and take the kids all day. Right. The other day job stuff that I do has to take the priority at this point, because that is the stuff that makes the money, that keeps the lights on, that lets me pay my mortgage, that lets me pay my employees. And I'll be honest, in the full spirit of transparency, I got kind of shook this spring, man. Like, straight out, if this podcast, if Top Dogs is supposed to be the place where the sickest of the sickos of the UConn fan base go to get their fix on UConn basketball, and I miss something like Solo Ball announcing that he's coming back for 18 fucking hours, like, what are we even doing here, man? Like, what is the point of me sitting here and trying to tell people that listen to this what they probably already know? Right. And I got to the point this summer where I was like, is it really worth it to do this? Is it really worth my time to be able to do this? Is it really worth the effort to be able to put this thing out when it is not the best product that I think that it can be? And, I am probably my own harshest critic when it comes to stuff on the Field of 68, but it is a very real thought that I had, and a very real issue that I had. Like, I can't be missing stuff like the Solo Ball announcement. I knew it was happening. I didn't know that it had happened. And putting out an episode where you're talking about the potential of this kid coming back when he had been back for 18 hours is just, you can't do it. It's just not acceptable to me with what I expect out of myself and out of the production of the shows that we do here on the Field of 68. So I put out some feelers this offseason about potentially passing baton and letting somebody else run the show. And I wasn't able to give that up yet. I wasn't able to do that. I thought about having somebody jump in here to co-host, maybe to lighten the load. but it still would have been something where I wanted to be on every episode after the games, right? Like that's the thing I like doing the best. And then this exhibition happened, right? And it kind of got the engine revving a little bit, and it kind of got the juices flowing a little bit. And the season is back, and college basketball is here. And I was sitting at SEC Media Day, which was a epic waste of time. But I watched the film of that game that morning, sitting there at SEC Media Day, and I'm sitting here watching it, and it reminded me the whole point of my favorite part of doing this show. It's breaking down the film, it's talking through the sets, it's talking through the rotations, it's talking through the lineup construction, it's talking about what has worked for UConn, it's talking about what is not working for UConn in the moment, it's talking about what I like to see from them offensively and why I think different things work. And I don't want to be a beat writer for UConn. I don't want to be Dave or Don or Joe. Like, those guys do a great job, and they're better at it than I could ever be, right? They already crush it at what they do. I don't want to be the inside info guy, mostly because I really don't have a desire to sit here and text different coaches over and over and over again about the smallest bit of news and the smallest bit of info. And specifically with UConn, like, they're not going to give shit away anyway, man. Like, Dan is either going to say something in a press conference that he wants to be able to get out there, or they're going to put that kind of information behind the store central paywall and allow themselves to be able to monetize it. It's smart what they do, really, to be able to help generate a little bit of revenue coming into the program. So where I've kind of landed here at this point is that this pod and this feed and this show is going to essentially be nothing but game reactions and game breakdowns. We'll get a couple of interviews here or there. We'll have preview content when it comes to bigger games. We'll do some collabs. Like, I'd love to get Jared back on. That guy is awesome at what he does, and I think does a really good job promoting Connecticut basketball, not just the Huskies. So things like that will continue to happen. We're going to have Dave on at some point here in the next week or two to promote the book that he's doing. But I can't see myself putting in the time and the effort to, make the trip up to stores to sit down with 5 or 6 of the players again, to be able to put together 40-minute episodes with former players and former graduates and former guys. It's not something that is the most productive use of my time when I have a limited amount of time to be able to do things like this. Again, what is functionally at this point, in my life and where I just kind of am a passion project. So what I'm going to do is turn this into the place where I can kind of nerd out about UConn basketball, where I can nerd out about what I see them doing, what I like about the way that they're playing, what I wish they were doing differently, what I think about certain players and the impact that they're having on the floor. And that's just going to kind of be what it is here. And maybe we'll get 2 episodes a week. Sometimes it'll be 1 episode a week. Maybe we'll get some guests. Maybe we won't. I don't really know. But this is going to essentially just be the outlet that I have to be able to put together thoughts on UConn, to be able to react to what I am seeing and just kind of, like I said, nerd out about the way that this team is playing. And if you guys want to come along for the ride, like, I am thoroughly happily glad to have you here with me. I love to hang out. I love reading the reactions. I love getting takes from other people based off of kind of what I'm seeing. So if you're here, if you're along for the ride, let's go have another great season, man. It looks like this might be a top 10, top 5-ish kind of team that has a chance to be able to win a 3rd title in 4 seasons. And I can't wait to see it play out again. So let's get into that 71-52 win that UConn had over Boston College on Monday night in just a second. As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season 1 for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. The college basketball season will begin right here on the Field of 68. At 8 a.m. on November 3rd, we will be tipping off the inaugural Field of 68 opening day marathon. 15 hours of nonstop basketball. It will begin in Rock Hill, presented by our friends at Visit York County. Plan your itinerary today at visityorkcounty.com. Winthrop will face off with Queens in the opener, followed by Bradley taking on St. Bonaventure. Then we head out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it'll be presented by Sanford Sports, who is changing the way people play and making sports accessible and fun for all. Murray State gets Omaha at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with Drake taking on Northern Arizona in the second game in Sioux Falls. Then it's back to Rock Hill for a showdown between Furman and High Point, with Merrimack taking on South Dakota State in Sioux Falls in the nightcap. Tickets for all 6 games are on sale now at the links in the description below. Field of 68 opening day. All right, in my opinion, it is really difficult to get a read on exactly what this team is going to be watching them play without Silas and without Terrace Reed, right? I think that you need to see what those two could end up being before you can really get a feel for what the ceiling is for this group. And the reason that I say that is I personally believe that the two most important spots in any college basketball program, period, but also with this UConn team, is the point guard spot, the lead guard spot, and the 5 spot, for a couple of different reasons. One of them is because of the rim protection that you need and the ability to end possessions by getting defensive rebounds. It is the ability to throw the ball into the post to take a little bit of pressure off of the guys on the perimeter who are running so many sets and the number of shooters that have to be accounted for. If you have that ability to go to Terrace Reed one-on-one on the block, the post-up is not the most efficient shot in basketball, but in moments it can be very effective to be able to give you another way to be able to win and another way to be able to play. And then with Demery, I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit since he committed to play for UConn, but it is his ability to be the guy at the end of a clock that creates something beyond what is schemed up in the sets. And I think that the single biggest there's 2 main points that I think, main talking points coming out of this performance. The first one is that there was nobody that could go get something on their own without Silas and without Terrace on the floor, right? I think it is a glaring statistic that UConn shot 11 free throws in this game and BC shot 30 free throws in this game. Last year, UConn had a free throw rate, that's a hard thing for me to say, free throw rate offensively under 31%, while their opponents had an over 41% free throw rate. And both of those were among the worst in the high major ranks in college basketball. So the short version is they don't get to the line, and their opponents get to the line a lot. Now, some of that is a result of the way the game gets called, right? But I think a very large part of that is a result of the way that UConn wants to play, and specifically the way that they played last year, where everything was run sets. We're chasing threes. UConn shot 34 threes on Monday night, and out of 69 field goal attempts, which is a very, very high number. Generally speaking, the teams that lead college basketball in 3-point rate throughout the season tend to be hovering just over the 50% mark, and 34 out of 69 is obviously just under 50%. So if that happens throughout the season, UConn will be one of the highest usage 3-point teams in college basketball this season. Now, I think there's a couple of ways to look at this, right? In the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, in the macro holistic view of the world of basketball, shooting threes and specifically shooting open threes high percentage threes is the best shot that you can get and something that you want to be able to maximize as much as possible if you want to be the most efficient offensive team that you can be. I thought that UConn got some great looks offensively. I thought that they shot 8 for 34. With the looks that they got, I would probably expect them to be closer to like 14 out of 34 with the guys that were shooting them. Solo got some great looks that he missed. Alex got some great looks that he missed. Braylon got some great looks that he missed. And those three guys are not going to miss a lot of great looks throughout the season. They're both elite shooters, or all three of them are elite shooters. In the macro, you want to be able to maximize the number of open threes that you get. But in the micro, in game to game situations, possession to possession situations, minute to minute situations, I don't think it's necessarily ideal to have a team that is strictly reliant on being able to scheme open threes and take threes. Because I do think that there is a point where shooting does become contagious in the micro, in these smaller situations, right? In these 4-minute stretches at the start of the second half when another team can go on a run. You have to be able to have a way to create unmissable shots. And what I mean by that is you have to find a way to be able to create dunks, to create layups, to get yourself to the free throw line with your 80% free throw shooters, to be able to get shots at the rim from your big guys, to be able to get pick and rolls where you create a 2-on-1, you can throw a lob to the rim, right? You have to be able to find ways to get the shots that are guaranteed points because you got to find a way to be able to stop a run, right? Like at the end of the day, we can talk about basketball from an analytics perspective, and in the big picture, all of that stuff is correct in my opinion. In the smaller sample sizes, we're talking about human beings that are for the most part 18 to 22 years old, and there's going to be times where you have to think about it from a mentality and head perspective, right? Let's say it is an early start on a Wednesday night. It's 6:30. It's 11 degrees outside on January 28th, and you're playing at Butler, and Hinkle Fieldhouse is still 70% empty because there was traffic getting there in Indianapolis, and it was tough for fans to get there, and school's not in session yet. So there's no energy in the building. There's no energy on the team. There's no energy in the roster. They're a little bit sleepy on an early start in Indianapolis, and you miss your first 5 or 6 threes. You got to find a way to be able to see a couple go into the basket, to get a couple points on the board, to kind of be able to get that energy going and get those juices flowing and get that momentum going. And it's stuff like that that I don't think necessarily shows up in the analytics and the data and some of the bigger picture efficiency theories that are out there, right? I think that is the part where it's very difficult for strictly data to be able to tell you what is happening in a specific basketball game. And I think that right now, in this game where you don't have Silas and Terrace Reed, is probably what UConn was missing a little bit. And to me, the perfect example is this. And maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself because of what I'm about to say, but Alex Caravan in the first like 6 minutes of that game on Monday night missed 4 really, really open looks from 3, right? Ones where you say like he's probably got a 60% chance of knocking that thing down. And after he missed the first 4, there was a little bit of a mentality switch, right? And you saw him going to the basket, and you saw him coming off the screens and trying to get to the rim, and you saw him attacking the offensive glass and trying to make something happen that wasn't just a catch and shoot open 3. And you know, he made a bucket around the rim. He had another driving layup. He got fouled, and then it all kind of led up to this moment where after he got a couple points on the board and saw a couple shots go through the rim, he got an open 3 from the top of the key and knocked one down. And then like 3 possessions later, he knocked down another one. And then we saw moments where, you know, he had 2 really, really nice passes. He had a touch pass on a set that UConn ran at the end of the first half to Eric Ryba, who ended up smoking the layup. But I thought that it turned Alex into a much more dangerous version of himself once he saw a couple shots go in at the rim. And I think you need to be able to have that option, because I do believe as a team, once you see 1 or 2 go in, it kind of lifts the pressure off of everybody's shoulders. They say shooting is contagious for a reason, right? And I mean, Alex also hit a three without a shoe on, which was awesome, electric. Without Terrace and without Silas, it is very difficult for UConn to have that guy that can do those things and get that going. Um, and obviously, they will, knock on wood, have those guys throughout the entire season. So I don't think that that will be an issue for UConn during the year, but that was certainly an issue on Monday night, and it is one that I think will be the priority once we get Silas Demery and Terrace Reed back into the lineup to be able to focus on. Getting easy shots, getting foul shots, getting to the rim. I mean, look, both of those guys had free throw rates that were in the Tristan Newton, Donovan Clingan range this past season. So I think that matters. Two, the other big takeaway for me was that I actually thought the defense was really, really promising in flashes, right? There were moments where I thought that straight line drives were too easy going to the rim. There were moments where I thought that the ability of UConn's fives to be able to defend ball screens the way you should be defending ball screens was probably not ideal. A lot of that has to do with the fact that you have a freshman big guy in there playing the starters minutes. Freshman big guys are not supposed to be able to know how to do everything or be perfect guarding ball screens as freshmen. There is a reason why you say the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. A large part of that, especially with big guys, is because in high school, most of the time, they're told to be big and be in front of the rim and get your hands up. And then you have to go to college where you have to learn how to move your feet and learn different rotations and learn different calls and learn different ways to guard ball screens. And it's a lot, and it takes a while for 18-year-old, 19-year-old big guys to learn how to be able to move all 7 feet of their arms and limbs. It takes a while for that to happen. So I am in no way saying that Eric Riba is a bust because he was not perfect guarding ball screens in his first scrimmage as a freshman. But it's clear that there is work to do there. All that said, UConn gave up 42 points. BC shot right around 31% from the floor. They scored 52 points despite the fact that they got to the free throw line 30 times and got 13 offensive rebounds, a 34% offensive rebounding rate. So there's a lot of promising things that happen defensively. I think that once Terrace gets back, that you can probably knock off a good 3 to 4 of those offensive rebounds that they were able to get. I think that when he is back, it will help a little bit with some of the rim protection. The fouls are still an issue. I don't think that's going to be something that goes away. I really hope that that's not something that becomes a constant sticking point with Hurley and the staff this year. You know, his point about the physicality with the way that they run offense and the stuff off the ball is a completely valid one. But the number of free throws that get shot, I think, is a byproduct of the way that UConn plays and the way that they defend. They're aggressive defensively with guys that aren't great defenders, and they're a team that shoots a lot of threes. So it's going to be natural that the other team is going to get more free throws than the team that shoots a lot of threes is going to get. Hopefully those free throw rates will be a little bit closer this year than the years past, but I'd bet a good amount of money that the UConn will be outshot from the free throw line for most of the year this year. But you put all that into context, right? They won by 19 against an ACC team when you gave up 13 offensive rebounds without your best rebounder, when you gave up 30 free throws without your two best defenders, according to Dan Hurley, and when you scored 71 points despite shooting 8 for 34 from three, that's below 25%, to a team from the ACC. And if you just kind of look at that again, big picture, there is a lot to feel good about coming out of that first scrimmage. So I think that UConn's in a good spot. I think that there are some red flags. Red flags is probably too strong, but definitely some things that can be learned from that tape. And I will say that I don't think that there is a coaching staff in the country that will be better at taking that tape and helping to get the players that watch that tape to learn what they are supposed to be able to do. So it's a good spot to be in. Nothing about that performance, especially with the guys that UConn was missing, makes me feel any different about the fact that I think this is a preseason top 5 team. I think this is the best team in the Big East. And I think that this is a team that can get back to the Final Four in Indianapolis this year. A couple other thoughts. I thought Rybub moved well. He needs to learn how to be able to be in the right spot and pick up things a little bit quicker defensively in ball screens. But I thought that there were some good signs and good flashes there. He's got to finish. You got to finish at the rim. If you're a 7-footer on this team, you got to be able to make your layups at the bucket. I thought that he, 3 for 9 was not acceptable. You got to be 6 for 9 at the rim if you're that tall. And once he figures out how to be able to play through contact and be a little bit more physical and get accustomed to the level of contact and the level of strength and size and length that he's going to see in high major college basketball, he will be good. But he has to get there. He missed too many shots at the rim. That's not something that can happen. I think he will get there. I might take a little bit of time. I thought Mullins moved really well without the ball. I thought that he was pressing a little bit. It's your first game as a freshman coming in. I thought that he kind of rushed a couple threes. It looked like the adrenaline might have been flowing just a little bit too much. And once he settled in the second half, he knocked down a couple of really nice ones coming off a screen. So I'm not worried about him. There's a reason why he beat out Stewie for that 5th starting spot. But it's definitely going to be a little bit of a work in progress there for him coming in as a freshman. The other thought that I had is that, he's skinny, man. Like, he's not nearly as physical as Cam Spencer was. He got beat in a couple of straight line drives. He's not the passer that Cam was either. So that's another part of this team that I'm a little bit, I don't know if worried is the right word, but let's phrase it like this. In 2023, UConn effectively played with 2 point guards, right? You had Andre fucking Jackson and you had T. New out there together for the most part. So you had 2 guys that were playmakers that were out there to create, that were out there to be able to make shots easier for their teammates. In 2024, you effectively had 3 point guards on the floor: T. New, Cam Spencer, and Steph Castle. All 3 of them were capable of getting 5 assists on any given night. And it made life really easy for some of the other players on that roster, and especially for those 3 guys, right? Some of them, there are times they could be on the ball, there are times they could be off the ball. Last year, you even had a Liam McNeely, who was a little bit of a creator, maybe not put into more of a shooter's role last year, but he's a little more of a creator than he got credit for. And you had Haas out there. And this season, I don't know where that passing is going to come from. Demery is a point guard, but he is more of a Tristan Newton type, where I don't think that he's necessarily pass first. I think he's capable of creating and capable of passing and capable of being a 5 assist per game guy, but he's not like a Braden Smith type where you expect him to be 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 assists on a given night. And when you only have one of those guys, it really does put a lot of pressure on the ability of the sets that you're running to be able to scheme open looks. And I think that their offense is good enough to be able to do that. I also think that if you have an athletic team that can switch a lot and put a lot of pressure on the ball to be able to blow up what you do, and you happen to have officials that allow physicality off the ball and chucking cuts and not letting you get to your spots, I think that can be something of a concern for what this team does, right? And I believe the remedy for that is that you need to have more than just Silas Demery be the guy that can go out and create a shot and make something happen. I really do think that the key, the more that after watching that and the more that I think about it, I think that the guy that lifts the ceiling for this UConn team, the guy that can take them from being like good enough to be a Final Four team to good enough to win a national championship, is Jalen Stewart, because he is a guy that can go out and get a bucket, right? Like he's gotten better defensively. He's gotten better as a passer. He can make a shot, but like kind of at his core, that's a dude that's out there to score, right? And if he can be a dude that if stuff gets stagnant can go out and get you 8 to 10 in one of his rotations, right? If he's a guy that is capable of getting 20 on a night when UConn is kind of bogged down offensively, I think that really changes the outlook of what this group can be. And you saw flashes on Monday night. We've seen flashes throughout his career. It's kind of been a consistency thing with him, and a lot of that has to do with consistent playing time that is available. But I think this is his year. I think this is going to be a chance where he needs to show just how good he is capable of being this season. Because I don't expect a lot of Silas Demery, Malachi Smith backcourts. I think it's going to be Demery, solo ball, Mullins, and Stewart. It's going to be a lot of looks where it's three of those four guys. I'm going to reserve judgment on the deeper bench pieces, Dwayne Caroma and Alec Killender, until we see them against a little bit of better competition. But I thought Killender was good, and Caroma, man, like he might be a steal. He's big and he's long and he's athletic and he plays hard. He seems like a more functional version of Yusuf Sangare, and if that's your third big guy, is out there to get you 5 fouls, and if he needs to give you 5 minutes in a game, play with his absolute highest level of intensity the entire time, he's a guy that can make plays happen. So overall, big picture, I thought that was a really promising start to the way the season started, and I'll be very interested to see how things play out against Michigan State coming up here next week.
Athlete AI is the story of the athlete. And every athlete deserves to have his story told. Under the lights and in the spotlight. This is your moment, your rule. Download, capture, create, share. Athlete AI. Your name is Trent.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. UConn also had a couple of commitments that we're going to need to talk about here, as Colbin Landrew and Junior County both committed over the course of the last couple of weeks to the program. We'll start with Colbin, who committed on, I guess it was Tuesday at this point. He is a guy, maybe it was Wednesday, I can't remember. Every day is running together here. He is a guy that is 6'6", 6'10" wingspan. He's versatile. He can play different positions offensively. He can play different positions defensively. He is a former football player, so there's a level of toughness there. He's a winner. He was a guy that won the Adidas circuit, the Three Stripes title this year, playing for Game Elite, I believe it was, which is the same program that produced Jaylen Brown. He's not a superstar guy, but he's a blend guy. He's a high IQ guy that is a very good catch and shoot 3-point shooter when he's in his standstill. Not great yet off the move or off the bounce, but if you're a great standstill shooter, I think that there's a very real chance that you could end up being a great off the dribble or off the move kind of a shooter. He's not an elite athlete, but he's a good athlete. He's not an elite scorer, but he's a good scorer. He's probably going to be better as you switch him upwards defensively than if you have him going from being a 3 that has to guard a 2 or a 1, because he's not the most fleet of foot. He's good enough to be able to do a job, but I think he'd be more effective as a 3 that gets switched onto 4s and potentially 5s than he would be as a 3 that gets switched onto 2s and potentially 1s. But I do think that it's telling to look at the other programs that he picked UConn over and see Purdue and see Louisville and see Texas A&M under buckyball. Like, those are 3 teams that play the style of basketball that you want to be playing in the modern era, and 3 programs that are really good at this point at, especially Louisville and Purdue, but are good at being able to develop talent and identifying guys that play the same style. So to me, the comp is, I think he reminds me a lot of Javon Hadley who is currently the starting 3/4 at Louisville. But I think it is very, very easy to be able to connect the dot of Alex Caravan graduating and Coleman Landrew committing. I think that there are a lot of similarities in terms of the way that those two will be used, the way that they will play, and kind of what their strengths are and their impacts will be. Junior County to me is, look, big point guard, probably best as a scorer at this point, but he's someone that you would qualify as a winner. He's got winning intangibles. He can create on his own, but he's probably at his best, like playing within the flow of an offense. He's really increased over the last probably year to 18 months, his ability to kind of handle the ball on ball screens. And he kind of went from being a scoring guard with the ability to handle to being a big point guard, if that makes sense. And you've been able to see that development for him over the course of the last probably year to 18 months. He's a very good when it comes to kind of mid-range pull-ups. He's not a great three-point shooter yet, but I think if you're a good shooter at any spot that can potentially be, pushed out to the three-point line, he is still 17 years old, so there is room for him to develop there, and I think this is a staff that can develop him. High basketball IQ guy. He can make a lot of reads. He can go to his left. He can go to his right. He has the size to be able to finish through contact. He is 6'4". I really do believe that Dan saw what worked with Tristan Newton those 2 years, what did not work with Asan Diarra, Aiden Mahaney, and Ahmad Noel last year, and bringing in Silas Demery and recruiting Junior County and taking that commitment, I think are very real signs of what he is looking for out of a point guard. And to me, Junior County is a really, really, really good fit in theory for that role. Now, we've seen a couple of these recruits that are freshmen that commit to UConn, come for a year and not have it pan out. I think these guys are more likely to be in the box that ends up being 2 to 3 year players with the program. I think these are closer to Jalen Stewart's and Jaden Ross's than they are to Ahmad Noel's and Isaiah Abraham's. I also don't think either of these guys are necessarily one and done threats. I think that they are program guys that will be there for a couple of years. I think the vision here with going out and getting these two guys is that you can use Coleman Landrew to be the next Alex Caravan, and you can use Junior County to come in and, in an ideal world, back up Demery next year, and then be the starting point guard as a sophomore and an all-league kind of a guy by the time that he is an upperclassman. And I think that is a very real likelihood and outcome for what you can expect for Junior County and Coleman Landrew. But this has been Top Dogs. I appreciate you guys tuning back in after a 6-month layoff. I promise you we will not be waiting 6 months until the next episode of this podcast. And like I said earlier, if you're here, if you're hanging out, if you're watching, if you are consuming this content, it is very much appreciated. And just know that I understand it takes a lot of time out of your day to be able to watch and listen to this stuff. And I do appreciate it. And I promise you we'll be getting more of this UConn nerdy content, nerdy basketball breakdowns coming out throughout the rest of the season. So here's to what should hopefully be a great year for UConn basketball in the 2025-2026 season.